Get pucked.
Big news breaking today in the Habs universe as Ivan Demidov has officially joined the Montreal Canadiens on an entry-level 3-year deal. Now, this news, it wasn't broken by Darren Dreger. It wasn't broken by Elliot Friedman or any of these so-called insiders. It was broken by none other than our friend, the one and only Marco D'Amico from the senior editor at RG Media, who joins us right now. How's it going, Marco?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about you guys?
Fantastic. It's a great day. Great day.
I bet.
It's a great day for the Habs universe. I know you're a busy man. You're highly sought after, especially after today. So I won't take up too much of your time.
No worries, guys.
I mean, it all started, to be honest, with a pair of eyes on X. I don't know if you want to walk us through that, but I got pretty much everyone buzzing.
I think I lost 10 pounds today, guys. I'm
from
all the bullets I sweat, like it's crazy. My wife's gonna come home and be so happy. So basically, what ended up happening is we had an interview scheduled today with Ivan Demidov. Had nothing to do with the news today. It so happened, and so we had set it up with Scott and his agent Dan Milstein, and we had our Russian reporter Pavel on the ground and talking to him and whatnot, and I was feeding the questions, he was asking them, and then all of a sudden, he has to take a break. And, I'm not going to say that I've been doing this for a long time because I haven't really, but I've never seen anyone pause an interview other than for like a bathroom break. And he was like, no, I need to talk to my agent. I gotta talk to him about like contract terms and stuff. I was like, contract terms? Don't tell me this guy's about to extend in Russia. And so he kind of comes back, and then the first thing he talks about is how he can't wait to play games for Montreal this season. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. And now you have to understand, this is like at 11 o'clock in the morning, our time. The news that we put out only came out at about 2:07. So we were told to keep it under wraps because at the time, they weren't anticipating that Roman Rottenberg was going to make an announcement, or Scott was going to make an announcement today. And they didn't want to jeopardize anything happening at the, once you get to customs in Russia, be it St. Petersburg or in Moscow, you don't want to mess with anything because the last time that Dan Milstein had a client whose ELC was announced beforehand was Ilya Sorokin, and his arrival to New York was delayed because of it. So he just didn't want any problems, said, please wait. So no problem, please wait. I'm sweating bullets, of course. And so you're waiting to put this news out because you know that it's going to be absolutely crazy, but you don't know how long you have to wait. And so, you can't really just sit on that. So I put out a bunch of eyes just in case the news came out. I'm working on the side as well, and this isn't my only job. And so like everything is kind of happening. And then I get a message from my boss saying, okay, we can run with this. And it's 2:00 and it comes out, and absolute carnage. I've never seen this before. The last time I saw something like this to this magnitude, I can't even think. I think it was maybe the Canadiens Eastern Conference champ. Well, it wasn't the Eastern Conference, but you know what I'm saying. The semifinal Saint Jean win where like Twitter almost fell. So like that kind of engagement.
If you don't mind me jumping in, Marco, what was the change from your first tweet where you said it may not happen, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, where it may not happen, and then shortly after the pair of eyes came out? Well, shortly.
So
within a couple hours.
It may not happen was yesterday, and that came directly from the horse's mouth. And the reason for that was they just were not sure that Roman Rottenberg would acquiesce to Ivan Demidov's request, because Ivan Demidov, announced that he would prefer, if he had to stay in Russia, he was going to play in the VHL, and he preferred to go to Montreal. And so conversations were had with all parties. I'm not going to speculate on if money was exchanged, but a conversation was had with all parties that seemed to change the conversation. And by terminating his contract early, Scott was able to retain his KHL rights in the process, rather than hold them back. There's a PR element to it, right? Where if they withhold a young player for the purposes of being petty, what could that do to the recruitment prospects of younger players for years to come, right? That's where they make their bread and butter, is bring in these younger guys that they can develop, because they don't count against the cap until the age of 22. And so that's very important for a league whose salary cap, I believe, is like $10 million USD. So it gives them room to bring in guys like a Kuznetsov,
whose contract just got terminated, by the way, or he terminated his own contract.
Yeah, well, it was terminated under the pretense that they would be able to retain, again, when they do that early, it's so that they can retain the KHL rights. If they were to let it expire, they would lose it. So if he wants to play in the KHL next year, he would have to play with Scott. And so that's the reason why they did it with Kuznetsov. With Demidov, different story. And then there's Alexander Nikishin with Carolina and Gritsik as well with New Jersey that are in negotiation as well. So Carolina Hurricanes fans and New Jersey Devils fans are patiently waiting. But when it comes to Ivan, it was obviously bigger situation, because not only are you the best under 20 player to ever play in that league, but you're going to the team that is the Montreal Canadiens. So it was a little bit wild. So what changed? Many things, conversations, tones. But by 11 o'clock this morning, terms were agreed to, and everything was happening real damn quick. And so it's the old saying that I believe Bob McKenzie used to say, one phone call changes everything.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you even answering my message, to be honest. I would have understood if it got lost in all of the your social media engagement and your newfound, well, not so much newfound, because you've been at it for a while and you've been quite successful. But I mean, imagine today your social media engagement is just absolutely ridiculous. Vito, you had a question?
Yeah, so I mean, we're going from now where Demidov was going through whatever coaching style Rodenberg was going through, and now going to Martin St. Louis. How do you think Demidov will adjust to Martin St. Louis' coaching style, and what aspects of Demidov's game do you think will likely flourish under Martin St. Louis?
I got to be honest with you. I think it's Martin St. Louis that's going to adapt to Ivan Demidov. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to Martin St. Louis. In fact, it's the kind of coach that he is, and that he adapts to the players that come to him. I think that the Canadian style is predicated on a style of play that Ivan Demidov thrives in, which is that quick turnaround, counterattack hockey, that possession-based hockey, and that high-pressure hockey pushing to the slot with skill and constant effort. And I feel like Ivan Demidov plays that style. Now, as to where they would put him in the lineup, man, that is the question that everyone is asking. And I would be lying to you if I said I knew the answer to that. But what I could tell you is I strongly believe that he would be a good fit on that second line with Patrick Laine and Alex Newhook. What a setup situation it would be to have both Ivan Demidov and Lane Hudson on the ice trying to feed a guy like Laine at 5-on-5. And then who's to say what would happen on the power play? I think they may, and again, this is Martin St. Louis, right? He started a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky on the fourth line. Lane Hudson in his first game was playing second pair with David Savard. Like, it's not like he gives them too much right off the bat, and he always gives them a guy that can protect them. So I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if he would end up playing with a guy like Dvorak or a guy like Evans to start. But given the fact of, the fourth line being a little banged up at the moment, you may just see him end up with Newhook to start, and we see where things go. That being said, he's not coming over to have a third line impact. He's, one of the things that he said to Rottenberg and then us was the fact that he cannot wait to have to play Alex Ovechkin in the playoffs. That doesn't sound to me like a guy that's going to be playing on the shutdown line.
Love it. Luca?
Well, yeah, that actually leads me to my question, which is how much of an impact do you think he's going to have right out the gate coming to our team?
I think he plays I think he could have a very similar impact to the way that Cole Caulfield had in the 2021 playoffs. I'm not saying that he's going to score 4 goals in a series. He may score more, he may score less, he may do other things, but the guy that you could just insert into a top 6 and be an impact player. I think that right off the bat as a 19-year-old is good. And it's already, for a guy that didn't have an off season because of an ankle injury and, even missed development camp in the KHL, last summer, it's been a lot of hockey. So it's going to be an adjustment period. I'm not expecting him to razzle dazzle and be the best player on the team right off the bat. It's kind of difficult with Lane Hudson already on the ice. But I do think that, it's someone that is going to get the crowd to stand. He's a guy that's going to immediately gain the admiration because he could be a skilled player, but he's a very He's not a lazy player by any means of the imagination. He's always working. In fact, Roman Rottenberg used to tell him to take a chill pill because he spent too much time in the gym. So that's all you really need to know.
Wow.
It's going to be a competition between him and Lane Hudson on who can get off the ice.
Hey, if they can have a leg off to see whose legs are thicker by next summer, I'm all for it. Let's see what happens.
All right, last question. Like gut feel, what how are you feeling like in terms of debut? Like what's the time frame you're thinking?
That's complicated by visas, right, Dave? So like the issue is like it's been a long time since I worked for the Canadian government, so like visa handouts are very different from when I was there. It could take 5 to 6 days, like it could take 1 to 2, depending on how far they are in that process and how they can expedite that process. If all the things were considered, I think he'd play it against Toronto or Ottawa, for the weekend. But wouldn't it ever be poetic justice if he makes his NHL debut versus the Chicago Blackhawks?
I mean,
wouldn't it ever?
It would be.
Do you think Kapanen gives up number 91 to Demidov?
I don't think Kapanen is attached to the number, to be completely honest with you. So I think he would give it up. And I've seen Kapanen wear 27 internationally before, so I don't, you may refer to that, or you could take any other number, or he waits for someone else to leave the team as a free agent this year and he takes their number. Who knows? But Ivan's numbers have always been 11, which is not happening, in 91. So I'm sure they'll acquiesce.
For sure. Well, thank you very much, Marco. We really appreciate you taking the time to come on and chat with us. I know you've had a crazy busy day, but enjoy heading to the game, and thank you very, very much.
Always a pleasure, guys. You have a great one.
Get pucked.